I watched The Watermelon Woman when I was in China, and this was a really weird time for me because I was at home and like with all my family surrounded by my mother tongue, but I just felt so alien and out of place, and like I just couldn't rationalize those feelings at all. But I watched a lot of queer movies during this time, I guess, to connect with a part of myself that couldn't really be verbalized in that environment. This movie inspired a lot of thoughts about how I could feel grounded in my identity and how our connection with history, those past versions of ourselves, can really anchor you in your identity. I've always reflected a lot on the discomfort I feel with being Chinese and being queer, like these two very significant elements that dictate my life always felt so contradictory. Like on one hand, my Chinese identity is in my blood and it's nurtured by a pre-existing community and a large framework of cultural and historical references. And then being queer doesn't feel any less innate to me, but I'm always made to feel like I just kind of got it from nowhere. And like those points of references you have to search for and potentially create for yourself. And that's why I resonated so much with the film, because we really do need to see ourselves in history to feel assured of our realness. It makes me feel like when I plant my 2 feet on the ground, something is holding back onto me and I'm not just floating. The Watermelon Woman was one of those things that made me feel grounded in that sense. I feel like being queer has shaped me in so many ways in my growing up. It's made me more daring in terms of what I want out of my life, and I feel like I can reach beyond what I was given and I can seek more from the world. And the kind of inherent aloneness and coming to terms with being queer turned out to be quite a beautiful thing for me, like finding my own community and being a researcher in my own history. And ultimately I feel like I have the creative liberty to shape who I want to be, who I want to become. And I feel like so much of Cheryl Dunye's work speaks to that kind of inventive nature of queer identity. Like her work depicts this kind of completeness that can be present in queer identity, as opposed to the fragmentation and incongruence I've often struggled with. The Watermelon Woman is about someone who is motivated and driven by her identity. It's not something that limits her, but it's something that actually opens her up to new ways of seeing and creating. It tells me that the parts of myself can speak to one another. The passion I feel for one thing can be translated into so many other things, and the different parts of me can coexist, and those intersections could act as fuel for creative energy. Media is so significant because we learn through them how to exist to a certain extent, and particularly for queer people, I think it can stand as a substitute a lot of the times for those important frames of references that we sometimes lack in our realities. It shows you that it's possible to feel whole, and I think seeing The Watermelon Woman was one of those moments for me when I saw that there could be a sense of equilibrium and that I existed in a much larger context in relation to what came before and what will come after me. Anyway, I'm very grateful that this movie exists. I'm grateful that it came into my life at that specific moment in time to speak these things to me, and I'm still growing and learning how to piece myself together and appreciate all the beautiful things I have access to precisely because of who I am. And I want to put the full version of myself into what I create and how I interact with the world, and I think this is only the beginning.